Hey everyone, my name is Brittany and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'll be reading all the books for the Asian Readathon.
It's Brittany, bitch.
For the Asian Readathon, we had 5 prompts, and so I ended up choosing a different book for each prompt. If you want to know what those books are, please go check out my Asian Readathon TBR, which I'm going to link above and below. And without further ado, let's pop into when I finish the first book of this reading vlog. Okay guys, so I ended up starting off strong with The Prince and the Dressmaker because this was a graphic novel. I knew I'd get through it really quickly, and at least I have 1 out of 5 done. I really enjoyed this graphic novel. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It is literally so freaking cute and sweet and heartwarming, and at the end, it was like such a fun, shocking surprise. It ended really, really well. I love the art style. I love the themes in this. We are following Prince Sebastian, who is a young prince who his parents basically want to try to like marry off, and they want him to find a princess. But as it turns out, he loves dressing in drag. And so whenever he sees someone at a ball in a beautiful, shocking dress, he goes out to find whoever made that dress, which is Frances. And Frances made the dress, and then he hires her to be like his personal dressmaker. And so Frances makes him all these dresses with like the most gorgeous designs, and he becomes Lady Crystalia at night. And he becomes quite famous for Frances's dressmaking and all the dresses that he's wearing. And then he wears it in drag. So he wears this gorgeous like red wig, and it is literally so cute. Like honestly, it was stunning and so sweet. And there's a little bit of a love story here that I wasn't anticipating. Ultimately, this is about love and acceptance, and this was so cute. 4 stars, well deserved. I almost ran up to 5 stars. I just feel like it's missing that memorable factor for me that would make it a 5-star, like something I would like never forget. It was really, really cute, but I don't know if it's enough for a 5-star read for me, but it definitely earned it in terms of like visual and like a really cute ass story. So now I'm going to head my way on over to Crazy Rich Asians, which I am listening to on audio. I'm about 60% of the way into this so far, and I've already seen the movie, so I already know a lot of what's supposed to happen in this book. And I do have to say that I feel like the movie does a really great job of bringing the book to life. I feel like it's so far some pretty true to the book, or if some of the situations like happened, they happened at different times, but the same things still happen. I mean, so far I feel like it's pretty true to interpretation. And I love Crazy Rich Asians. That movie is so good, and I want to watch it right now, and I might just watch it after I finish this book just to see like how much of this was the same. I feel like the movie might be a little bit better because it brings this like to life, and it's a very rich, elegant, immersive experience. I feel very rich reading this book. I just feel like, why am I not like a Singapore heiress? I feel a little gypped in life, honestly. It sounds incredible. I just feel like what a cool world to be in. And there's so many cool cultures and so many countries nearby that they pull influence from. Like, I've heard that Singapore is like the foodie country, and like, I have to go visit because I would literally eat my way through that fucking country. So far, I'm still kind of confusing people a lot. I feel like it's easier to see them on the screen. I feel like in the book, there's a lot of characters to remember. So I'm definitely having a hard time with that. But otherwise, I'm really enjoying it. So we'll see how that goes.
조용하게 음악을 틀어 이 노래가 혹시 너에게 방해가 될까봐 나는 조심하는 중이야 될까봐 나는 조심하는 중이야 내 어릴 적 꿈과 날 사랑한 사람 수 없는 별 아래 그림 같은 손 하지만 이제 나 잠 못 드는 밤 인생은 동화가 아니라는 맘만 어디로 가야 하죠 아저씨 난 자꾸 뒤를 돌아봐요 맥없이 걸어온 길 위에 놓인 점들이
I may say something controversial, but I would argue that the movie adaptation of Crazy Rich Asians is better than the book. The book and the movie are pretty closely related, but I do have to say that the movie does a much better job of explaining the plethora of characters that we are introduced to in this book. It is much too confusing, and I think the biggest problem with that is the perspective is like constantly changing between characters, and it's very hard to keep everybody straight. I mean, there's been so many times that I had to go back and re-listen to an entire chapter because I do not know who we were following. Like, it was just kind of a mess when it came to perspectives, and especially when you have that many characters and not really any of them have any defining characteristics, it was kind of hard. I mean, the easiest were our 2 main characters and his mom Eleanor. Like, that was like the extent of my knowledge. And of course, Rachel has a friend, yada yada. Like, there's a couple people that I can remember, but other than that, like, it was very hard to keep track of everybody and the drama going on between everyone because there's so much fucking drama in this, which you think I would enjoy because honestly, I love some damn drama. I am the drama. But when it comes to a book with a bajillion characters, I don't really need to hear gossip about people I'm not meeting on page. I don't feel like it really furthered the plot. It honestly just confused the hell out of me. Of course, we are still rooting for Rachel and Nick's love story. So Rachel is a professor in NYC and he's bringing Rachel home to meet his family for this giant wedding, and everything kind of goes awry. Rachel is bullied, she's not accepted, she finds out they are crazy rich and crazy exclusive. I really appreciate the insight into the Eastern versus Western cultures. I really enjoyed that in the movie as well. I think it's just really cool to show the differences, even though they're both Asian, how different their upbringings were. I also thought the ending to the book was really heavy and intense and focused on Rachel's father, and I feel like the movie ending was done a lot better. I just feel like it's probably because obviously we're gonna continue on with the series, like the book series continues on. I don't believe that the movie has a sequel to my knowledge. I think that's why they probably wrapped it up that way, but I feel like it's one of those ones that I didn't really need a follow-up to, but of course it's gonna follow it up because it didn't end everything the way it was supposed to, in my opinion. I feel like here the movie absolutely wins, and the book's gonna get 3 stars out of me. I'm not mad at it. I think it was a good book, but the perspectives were really confusing. I liked it, but it just wasn't anything more memorable. I think that the movie definitely outshined the original. The next one I'm going to attempt is Tokyo Ever After. I'm excited about this one because it seems like an Asian version of The Princess Diaries, which is a fantastic fucking movie series. And I think I read the books a long time ago, but I'm really excited for this concept. I hope it goes in some different directions because we know from the very beginning that she has been lied to her entire life and that is her father. So I'm just kind of curious what shenanigans she's gonna get up to, especially because this is the first in a series. So I'm hoping there's some good shit in here.
Into the place, a spot you from a ways. My heart, it started racing. The crowd across the way, the flowers on your face, and then I'm from the 80s.
So today I ended up finishing up Tokyo Ever After, and I think I'm gonna round this one up to 3 stars. I really enjoyed this YA novel. I think it's a really great mesh between The Princess Diaries and Crazy Rich Asians, which I literally just read. I think it's a really good mashup of that, but I just ultimately could not care about any of the characters, the storyline of this. I think it was like a really fun, shallow exploration of what this could have been. Izumi finds out very early on that her father is actually a royal prince in Japan, and she's able to go over to Japan in like literally 2 fucking seconds and meet her entire like royal family. That's one of the things that I found really unbelievable, was that right in the very beginning, her mom didn't even like try to like get somebody else to like confirm that she was like coming to the palace, like didn't talk about. Yeah, I just feel like that was weird. Like a lot of stuff happened off page. Maybe it happened off page, but I think that was really weird that like her mom just like let her go to Japan to follow this dude who was a guy she hasn't seen in how many freaking years. And then on the plane there, she's this entire like long ass plane ride to read this like dossier full of her family history, everybody's information, their hobby, everything about this fucking family, and she doesn't even crack it open. And yet you want to meet your father this badly, you want to be involved in his family this badly, but yet you don't even like open it up. I think I was trying to show that like she was just like a lazy teenager, but like even as a lazy teenager, if that's all you really want in life, you be reading this shit out of that fucking dossier, dude. And then of course when she's in Japan, she basically ends up falling for her Royal Imperial Guard, one of her guard members, like that's like the main guy that's like assigned to her. It was very much like a Joseph Queen situation, which I was into, but like it really had zero basis and was complete insta love. I just didn't understand like the feelings there. Again, I just feel like everything was like skirted over, like everything was very shallow and like wasn't explored, because I like the idea of them having a romance, and it was ultimately like revealed that that happened to like the press and everything, but I didn't feel anything for these characters, and I didn't even feel like their forbidden romance, and that should have been like one of the best parts of this. So it was just kind of a letdown. Like I liked the idea, the execution just didn't really pull me in. I think just the writing just, it made it feel really shallow. I feel like I really didn't get to know these characters, understand their motivations, know what they were doing. It's probably just also the writing style. I just feel like a lot of things were done off page, and I absolutely hate that in books. I mean, not that I like every detail, but at the same time, I'd almost rather have every stupid detail than nothing, because I just feel like I don't know these characters at all, so I can't really root for them. So that's why it's only gonna get 3 stars. I think it's a cute book, but like in terms of enjoyment, I mean, it was a fine listen, but it really wasn't anything I'm going to like remember other than like, oh, that's a kind of a mashup of these 2 books, and that's what it reminded me of. Anyway, I have 2 books left for this reading vlog. I don't know which one I'm gonna pick up first. I'd really like to pick up Gearbreakers because that one sounds like really like fun, hard, sapphic sci-fi right now. But when I tried listening to the audiobook, I found it really hard to follow. So I think I might have to do this one on the ebook version that I do have. But the other ebook version I have is the Vanessa Yu story, and that one is only on ebook, so I can't find it on audio. So I'm like kind of torn between which one I should kind of start first, or if I should just try to keep going with Gearbreakers and deal with the audio, I don't know yet. Because also audio can make or break a book. I mean, there's some books I've really enjoyed via audio and some I've absolutely hated and I had to read it physically. So it just kind of depends. So I'm gonna give them a shot and let you know which one I come back with, and that would be the one I finish. I just want to pop in and let you guys know that I am most of the way into the Vanessa U book, and I should be done with that hopefully this evening, but I did have a couple of things come up. So it's been a really challenging week. On a good note, I got my nails done. So these kind of look like a sunset, and my original picture does not look like these at all, but I kind of like these ones because they're very different, but it's just not exactly what I was asking for. But I think the way she did it, the colors just like meshed together. So now it's literally a fucking sunset, but I'm here for it. And now onto the bad. Last night I fell in my kitchen. So I kind of banged up my knee and it really fucking hurts. My elbow hurts too, and my hip. They're pretty sore. My knee is definitely the worst part. So going up and down the stairs has definitely been a little bit of a struggle. And the worst part is I had a sanded cavity when I was like, God, back when I was in my depression era, it was my very early 20s or my late teens, and I don't remember. And it was done by a dentist I really enjoy. Love him. He did a great job. It's been about 10 years. Obviously, I'm turning 30 this year. And I didn't realize that those fillings could pop out. It literally popped out sometime last night or this morning. I don't know when. So I brushed my teeth and I thought I was gonna fucking die. And the earliest that I can get into the dentist is 2 days from now. So I have to deal with this and somehow eat on one side and not get anything over there for 2 whole fucking days. I'm really not happy about it. I was drinking water earlier and a little bit got over onto that side, and that was a fucking mistake. I've never had this happen to me before, but it actually happened to my brother 3 times last year. But the thing is, I don't really have a whole lot of fillings. I don't have a whole lot of dental work experience. It's not really been a thing of mine. The first time I ever had like a filled cavity, like technically like one that they drilled and filled, was last year. And that's just because during COVID, I couldn't get like the help that I needed. I couldn't get the dental cleanings that I needed because they refused to give them to me. So a cavity developed and then I didn't know about it. Bada bing, bada boom. 2 years later, I had to get that filled. So that was really my first experience with it, and it made me very anxious. So am I incredibly anxious this week? Yeah, I don't like the dentist at all anyway, and I usually take Valium to go. And now on top of that, now I have this like surprise fucking filling that fell out. And I wish I could show you, but it's really gross, but there's literally a fucking hole there. And that's how I found out that it popped out, because it felt really weird. And then I literally looked in the mirror and put my flashlight on it and realized there's no tooth there, honey. Anywho, I will fill you guys in on Vanessa U when I'm finally finished with that, which is hopefully tonight/tomorrow. I'm so far enjoying it. I think it's fine. It's just not really what I was expecting. And for me to say that there's way too many descriptions of food tells you that there's way too many descriptions of food. So I will fill you guys in when I finish that, but it will hopefully be after I get my fucking tooth fixed, because I don't know how much longer I can stand this. Okay, bye. Anyway, I did end up finishing Vanessa U's Magical Paris Tea Shop, and I have a lot of gripes with this book, and so far is the lowest rated one out of this entire reading vlog. It's gonna get 2 stars from me. I really did not love it. I thought I was going to, and it just kind of went the opposite direction. Our main character, Vanessa, can tell people's futures and can even like taste them. So if she gets like bad news, like a bad prediction, she'll have kind of like a bitter taste, and she'll fully describe to you what she's tasting. Or if it's something that's like a good prediction, she'll taste something sweet or chocolatey or delicious. So she like literally could tell people's predictions. It's a family trait. It's very well known, but unfortunately for Vanessa, she can't control her gifts, so she blurts predictions out. So she's literally at her fucking cousin's wedding and she blurts out that like the cousin's husband's now gonna like cheat on her, and when he's going to get sushi, it's not actually sushi, and it like literally ruins the wedding. It's fucked up. And overall, that sounds like a fun idea. Like she's gonna go to Paris to train with her Aunt Evelyn and how to control her predictions, because Aunt Evelyn's one of the only other people in the family who have the same gift, and she can control hers. And she's always tried to teach Vanessa how to control hers, but Vanessa basically just did not want to do it. She didn't want to do training. She wasn't interested in it. She's always trying to like push her gift gift away instead of honing it. And so she finally goes to Paris with Aunt Evelyn, and Aunt Evelyn owns a fucking tea shop, and there we are. So my biggest gripe with this is, number one, it sounds like Vanessa herself owns a magical tea shop in Paris, which she does not. It's her aunt's shop. There's something magical about the tea shop, is the fact that Vanessa and Aunt Evelyn are clairvoyants and could tell people's futures, and they literally like blurt out predictions, especially when they drink tea. Like something about tea like triggers it. It wasn't what I was expecting, and that's fine, but I feel like the title is extremely misleading and I'm mad about it. You know, I was really thinking this could be something along the lines of like a magical tea shop, like Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, which is a totally different novel, but like that's a magical tea shop. It's all about a different kind of like magic. And there wasn't really magic. I mean, I wouldn't call clairvoyance magic. I mean, I know a lot of psychics. I don't really think it's magical. So I'm just a little mad at that aspect because I was expecting more like magic. And on top of that, I don't want to get into too many spoilers because there's already a couple of them in my review on Goodreads anyway, but I'm really mad with how quickly Vanessa fell in love. Like, so she basically has been told that she doesn't have a red thread with anybody. She just doesn't have like a partner like in mind. She doesn't have like a soulmate, whatever you want to call it. So when she goes to Paris, she meets this guy, and anyway, she just falls in love, and they talk over like 3 days, and she's like head over heels Disney princess in love. It's very frustrating and so fucking insta-lovey. Like, I would not trust some dude I don't fucking know to show me around Paris for like 3 days straight. No. And at the end of the novel, obviously people come together, and I'm like, I'm not going to move across the world for a person who has a gambling addiction, number one. Number two, that was not dealt with well. I just feel like it made absolutely no sense. And everything in this book was wrapped up so quickly, and like the conflicts were done in 2 seconds. Like, I don't really think most people would be okay with being with someone who has a gambling addiction and he's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm going to like snap out of it. It doesn't work that way. It does not. Another issue I had was that her predictions were so abrupt and wild and would come out of nowhere. Like, I just find it really inappropriate to all of a sudden be like, hey, your dad's going to die tomorrow. Like, and nobody in this book reacts in like, oh my God kind of way. Like, she literally ruins an entire man's proposal, and like nobody talks about how fucked up that was. I would be livid if someone ruined my proposal by being like, oh, he's gonna propose to you with that ring. I'd be like, don't fucking talk to me ever. But of course she can't control it, so she just blurts it out. But even then, like, if she can't control it, like, where are the consequences of these actions? Because she's so easily forgiven, but like, I would be fucking pissed if that happened to me. And I just think it's also just, I understand you can't control it, but like, you should have showed people's reactions to having that kind of news brought upon them out of the blue. On top of that, there were so many fucking obscure conflicts. Like, can you please just like pick a lane? Like, there are so many small conflicts, and Vanessa's getting in everybody's business. And I just feel like this book was only 300 pages. It felt so long because the chapters were really, really short, and there's so many weird conflicts that are like never resolved until they are in 2 seconds. Like, the conflicts are resolved in less than a freaking chapter sometimes. The chapters are like 4 pages. This didn't work for me. I absolutely do not like this writing style. I do not like the way this was done. Like, was this a great idea? Yes. But like, the execution of the writing and how it works for me is just it's not gonna go well. I think that's why the pacing of this felt so weird, and I just feel like no character motivations made sense. I think a big part of it is obviously just the writing. I did not like the writing style, and it was overly descriptive. This is my worst nightmare when it comes to writing. Like, I love some description, but there's a very fine line between describing something and over describing it. When you're giving me paragraphs that are like a Parisian fucking foodie blog, I cannot make a picture in my mind of what's happening because you're being overly descriptive of stupid things. Like, she would take a whole paragraph describing somebody's outfit. I do not care. That is one of my biggest pet peeves, and it's another book I'm thinking of called Santa Cruz, where this exact thing happened, where every stupid fucking outfit, every stupid scene was overly described to the point where I literally cannot picture the story. I cannot picture what's happening. I cannot picture anything because you're giving me so much description. You're overly concentrating on one fucking dish of food on the fucking table that I literally stop caring because I'm trying to get to the dialogue. I'm trying to get to the story to figure out what's happening. That does not work for me. Also, Vanessa has a change to her gift, like towards the end of the story, and then the other storyline of her learning to hone the other gift is never talked about. I just feel like every time something happens, the conflicts are resolved in 2 seconds and nothing is ever talked about in a way that like is lasting. This book just did not rub me the right way. I really did not expect to read a fucking restaurant review. I was expecting a magical tea shop, okay? And you need to go into it knowing that it is not a magical tea shop. It is about psychics trying to find their way in the world. And of course, there's definitely some like Paris descriptions. I know a lot of people in the reviews seem to like that, but for me, they were complete detriment to the story. It was way too much of dumping. Like, you're just description dumping, and I can't connect with that. I can't connect with the characters when you're doing that. I didn't connect with a single character. Even though I could tell they all had like great relationships, it's because it was being told to me that I didn't actually experience it or feel it. So this one is getting 2 stars out of me. Just a disappointment. I'm so sorry. This is a beautiful cover. It was a beautiful idea. just didn't work. So the last one I need to read is Gearbreakers, and I think I'm going to not listen to this on audio because I actually read past where I was on the audiobook and now it's making sense. I think this is one of those books that I need to read physically. It was not making sense on audio, and the audio narrator, she had almost like too sensual of a voice for me to connect to it. I don't know how else to describe it, but it sounded like she has a good voice for like narrating someone to sleep or like a tantric meditation or something. Her voice was very confusing on top of this already confusing writing style. This writing style just, I don't think bodes well to that type of narrator. It doesn't really work for me. So now that I'm reading the book, everything's making sense, because when I was listening to the audio, I thought different characters were in different places. I couldn't tell them apart. I was having a really hard time with it. But now I'm reading it physically, not a problem. I'm going to continue with that, and I will fill you in when I'm done, because that is the last book that I have to do for this reading vlog. And hopefully it's before my filling actually gets filled, which is next week, but we'll see. It's been a hot minute, and I just want to fill you guys in that they did do my filling a couple of days ago, which actually went well, except for the fact that I think I might be like a little bit allergic to whatever they actually like shoot up your cheek with, because it's hurt on this whole side of my face ever since. But at least that was taken care of. So finally want to let you guys know what happened there. Not very exciting, but dealt with. Now on to Gearbreakers, which was the last book I needed to finish, and I finally finished. I have a lot of thoughts on this book. Mainly, I really thought I was gonna give this book 4 or 5 stars when I first started it, because I really love the idea behind this book. In this book, we have our main character Sona, who basically wakes up after she's been like turned into a pilot. They basically change parts of her body so that she can connect to like these giant mecha robots, like Pacific Rim type of robots or Iron Widow type of robots. And she can connect to them and control them. So she has like a red eye and a couple of other adjustments and things. So she's like half metal, half human, and she can no longer feel pain. The only time she feels pain is when she's connected to one of these giant mechas. She is a Valkyrie pilot, which is one of the best type because they're like quick and fast and scary. So that's like literally our first chapter. And then we get to meet Eris. So Eris is a Gearbreaker, and their whole job is to take down these giant mechas and the pilots within. Now, here's the thing. This sounded really cool. I knew it was a sapphic book, so I knew that they were supposed to fall for each other. But after the 30% mark, this book was so fucking glacially slow. It was a slog to get through. I literally had to force myself to finish it. So what I thought was gonna be a 4 or 5 star turned out to be a 2 star, and I rounded it up very nicely. I just feel like 2 stars is the most respectful way I can look at this, because I love the idea so much of this, but the execution is just kind of bad. First off, let's start with like Godolia or whatever it's called. So that is like the authoritarian state that they live in, and we don't really know why these giant mechas were created, what they're protecting, like how big Godolia is, why are they destroying their own villages, because that's how Sona came to be, is that her village was destroyed after like a coal shipment or something didn't go to the capital, and they decided to just destroy that entire village that was providing coal, and she was like the only survivor. So she thought it'd be cool to basically take down Godolia from the inside by becoming a pilot. Again, not really sure why they even have these mechas, what they're protecting, what are these wars that they're fighting, because they're definitely like alluded to that there was wars and like territories and stuff they're fighting over, but like who are they fighting against and why? This definitely reminds me a lot of Iron Widow, but Iron Widow at least had an ending that like made a little bit more sense of who the Hunduns were, because I was so confused the entire novel, but then at least the end I was like, oh, it makes a little more sense now. There's a little plot twist, but in this whole thing, we still have no idea what the fuck is going on. The entire time I didn't find out a damn thing. Sona and Eris team up to basically take down Godolia from the inside, because Sona tells Eris, who was actually being held prisoner and captive, like, listen, I need your help. We're gonna take this down from the inside. Doesn't really tell her how we're gonna do that. And then they go out to the Hollows, which is where all the other Gearbreakers live, and then we do basically fucking nothing and tattoo each other for like most of the book. It's supposed to really focus on found family, but I don't know who any of the other characters are. Like, I remember their names, but like I can't remember them as people. I don't remember what they did or what their hobbies were. I think there were just too many of them. Like, I remember some of their names, like Juniper, Xander, Milo, Nova. Like they had like memorable names, but like they weren't memorable characters. And that's my biggest issue with this is like, we're supposed to care for these characters and care for the found family, but I just can't really keep half of them straight, especially Sona and Eris, who are 2 main interests and love interests, because their perspectives are so fucking similar and they think very similarly and had very similar upbringings that I just literally cannot keep them straight. They have such a hatred for themselves as well as Godolia, and they just like are just all rage and aggression, and that's great and all, but like I literally cannot tell them apart. I had to in each chapter continually be like, oh, she said Sona, so we're obviously an Eris, and have to keep reminding myself throughout the entire chapter because it was kind of just, it kind of keep going back and forth. I'm like, who is saying what? What's happening? And this is supposed to be like enemies to lovers and a slow burn, but it is neither one of those things. They literally love each other. Like the minute they have eyes on one another, they're like willing to lay down their entire lives and save one another the minute they like trust each other, which is 2 seconds into them being at the academy together. Because while Sona was out on her first run, she basically like, captured Eris by accident, or like Eris was caught on her Valkyrie and then she was like tortured, and then she comes to her with all these ideas. I feel like I'm mixing it up here because honestly, like the whole thing is confusing. There's really no plot other than them trying to take down the Godolian Empire, and we don't really know why. We don't really know what they're doing. We know they're bad. They're very, very bad people. They're terrible. They're run by 5 Zeniths, which are like 5 representatives who are like super ultra powerful people, and we don't know why, but they're like the oligarchs of the society. They control everything. Don't know much else. I just feel like for such an interesting concept, it makes absolutely no fucking sense. I'm just kind of like devastated that I didn't love this, and I'm so confused still. Like I want to know more. Like it's genuinely a cool concept, and I like the idea this was throwing around. I've never seen something specifically like this, but it just didn't do it for me. I like things that are plot-based or character-based. I mean, I like a lot of different things. The one thing that I love the most is world building. And if I don't have that, I won't love the story. If I don't have world building that is explained in a way that I can understand, I will just genuinely not like the story. This happened last month when I read Red Rising, like cool concept, bro, but I can literally not picture what's happening the entire time. I'm extremely confused. I just like picture these characters always like talking in like a gray room because I really couldn't get a picture of what was going on, because I feel like we were like in a room and then they're like, oh, she bounded through the forest. And I'm like, when did we get outside? When did this happen? Is it nighttime? Is it daytime? Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't mean to shit on anybody's writing, but this writing style, I think, just needs to be honed a little bit. It was incredibly confusing to understand what was going on. I really couldn't picture it. I couldn't picture any of the characters. Like, I know their names so well because I had to reread people over and over and over, which is why this book literally took me about a week and a half to 2 weeks to read this. I think maybe took like 12 days. Now, would I continue on to the second novel, Godslayers? Like, honestly, I probably would. I know that sounds really weird because I usually don't rate a book that low and then continue on, but I like the concept so much. It's just the writing is not there. The characters are not there. The concept itself was not fleshed out in the way that I liked, but I'm like kind of willing to see if the second book will fix those things. I'm willing to see, like, can this author's writing improve? Can I fully keep people separated when I'm reading them in the same scene? I'm curious enough to go into it, but I'm gonna try to keep my expectations low just because I was so disappointed by this first installment. Anyway, that is all I read for the Asian Readathon. If you've read any of these books, please let me know down below and let me know what you thought of them, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!